We are still taking a retrospective look at the February 25 general elections that has to do with the presidency or presidential candidates and that of the National Assembly candidates. We have in our studio, we have our friend and brother here, statistician and a public affairs analyst, Destiny Owubu. Welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Welcome. And then we have here Pascal Ator is a political analyst too. Pascal, welcome to our program.
You're welcome, sir.
And we still have the beautiful AB. AB, do I say welcome now or you'll be telling me welcome?
No, I'll be telling our guests welcome.
Owubu, let's start with you. Yeah. What do you make of the 25th February general election?
Basically, it leaves more to be desired.
Okay.
100 years of electioneering in Nigeria, starting from 23, after the Clifford Constitution.
Okay.
And this is 2023.
Okay.
1923 to 2023. That's a whole century of electioneering. And then the problems that existed in 23, voter intimidation, voter suppression, ballot box snatching, the same basic issues also marked the last election. Mm-hmm. One would have expected that 100 years is enough for a country or a system to improve and become very progressive. But the facts of if you are not a Nigerian and you looked at the election and you looked at the videos that went around, you saw the scale of malpractices in that election. Mm. You will not say the democracy has matured. It's simply a regressive system. The election wasn't an election in the democratic sense, because democracy is anchored on popular sovereignty. And popular sovereignty, by basic definition, means the will of the most dominant group of people. Mm. So we are not setting what the will of the dominant people are in this election, because if we are going to define democracy as the will of the people, then after the winner was announced, we would have been seen dancing on the streets. Sure. We would have seen the majority of the people coming out to celebrate. But if you're in Nigeria and you'll be watching TV, it looks like there's a national mourning instead of celebration. There's a national mourning. There's not joy. There's this dissatisfaction on the streets. So which part of the Nigerian popular sovereignty did the election produce? Because majority, if they won the election, then we should be seeing the majority celebrating. But that's not what we are seeing. All through Nigeria, from the biggest capital city, Abuja, to the commercial city, Lagos, to all the states of the Federation, there are pockets.
Now, how did you get all of this? You went around the country. You went around the country or what?
No, you can get it through information nowadays. You can use social media to measure the feel of the public. Okay. International observers gave their assessment. Journalists gave their assessments. The public, people have been reporting their assessments. And so it doesn't totally reflect the will of the dominant group of people. I didn't say the will of the people, but the dominant group of people.
Okay, I want to believe we respect people's opinion in this, in ITV. Yes. So I want to believe that is your thought on it. But I don't think Pascal is in the same boat with you. Pascal?
No, I am not exactly in the same boat with him. The reason why I'm not exactly in the same boat with him is that, you know, democracy all over in the world, you don't really have a perfect election everywhere in the world. It just happened in America during Biden and Donald Trump. You'll see what happened. But for me, I can say that the election was a bit free and fair. Okay. Why did I say so? I voted in this state. I voted in this state where people did not really molest people. Okay. You voted and agents were there in my polling booth. And unfortunately, we have technological issue, which is we cannot really erase in this electoral process. But for me, to be fair, I believe that we are growing as a nation. A nation is not just being built in a day. It is a gradual process. And when you talk about our democratic experience or development, we can only relate it to 1999 to date.
Okay.
We can relate it to 1999.
It's not the 100 years.
No,
the
Nigeria is not even up to 100 years.
Okay.
So we cannot really talk about 100 years. We know, you are aware, the young youth of this, they didn't really experience the military regime.
Okay.
I believe you do experience military regime.
I don't know. Is it because of the white beards that you are saying?
No, you experience military regime. If you
Okay.
graduated from university in 1995,
Okay.
96, 97, 98,
Okay.
you must have experienced military regime. So what I'm trying to say in the sense that we are growing as a nation. We cannot just get there in a day, but we are growing as a nation. For this the election that was being held, I believe it was a free and fair, and a winner will certainly be emerged, and I believe that is what we got now.
Okay. I think our message is ready to say through the next Sabo.
But I want to take us away from this angle.
Thank you.
I would like us to go back to the fact that cash is this scarce. Now, the reason that was rumored, I want to use that word rumored, was that it was supposed to reduce the rate of vote buying. Do you think that actually worked out? Because till now, we're still having difficulty getting cash.
Yes, for me, I believe, you know, some of us, everybody were really against this redesigning of the Naira. And I believe it worked a lot. It worked a lot in the sense, if you look at it in Edo State, let's use Edo State as our case study. Yes, even when you see that Labour Party won Edo State, you see that the criminality, electoral criminality was being minimized. Because people were waiting in the wing for them to see money to buy vote, to control havoc in the state. But the money wasn't there. The money wasn't there for people to move around to create this havoc in an election period. And this did not work. And the vote buying also didn't work. And you see that even as at now, some political party could not pay their party agents because some of them don't have even a bank account when you go to villages. So the money was not there to move around. And I believe with that, we can see what that really affects as far as this election is really concerned.
Okay, I'll talk with our second guest. Do you also agree with this line of thought that it actually reduced the rate of vote buying?
Yes, that was a major milestone progress. There was less incidence of vote buying. We didn't even hear things like that. So with respect to, if that was the objective, then it worked, because we can credibly say there was no major incidence of vote buying in that election. But you see, my basis of assessment of the election is not the irregularities.
Okay.
It is, you see, if we are looking at a crime, for instance, there are so many ways to steal money. If I fence my house and I prevent criminals from coming to my house, the objective is to prevent them from stealing the money. Is it not so?
True.
Now, there are houses where we don't have fence, and then there's still security. The bottom line of all the rules of elections, all the systems, all the things that we put in place is to ensure a free, fair, and credible election. But there's one thing. People often say when the hunter stops missing, the birds will continue to fly.
Yes.
So we have seen a technological dimension to this election. The INEC chairman said something, that the BVAS technology was an integral part of this election. In fact, the international audience heard him when he said, of many things that may likely change, these BVAS and its importance in the election cannot change. That is very important to the integrity of the process. They asked him, there was a rumor that you want to jettison the BVAS, the transmission of results with respect to presidency. I watched him on television, national television, saying that it is a rumor, it is unfounded, that the money they spent on this election was to ensure a credible process. And he especially told the audience that the INEC is not considering jettisoning the BVAS technology and its importance in this election.
Okay.
Okay, so when you say that people went to vote with the belief that when they finish voting, their votes will be transmitted directly. That was a very important part of the process.
Okay, no problem. We'll come back to that. Let's join Abdul Tijani is joining us via Zoom from Abuja. Abdul, how are you this morning?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we are looking at the election that is behind us now. We want to start by asking the same question that we ask our guests here. What do you make of that election?
Well, I think since 1999 that Nigeria has started this journey, this democratic process journey, we've had series of elections, and there have not been any election that at the end of the day have not been contested. Issues around credibility, issues around integrity, issues around the transparency, and even issues around how free, fair, and credible those elections are, always form the conversations after those elections. Prior to the enactment of the Electoral Act, since that 1999, we have series of amendments and reforms on electoral reforms that have impacted our electoral process. So for the 2023 elections, we've had a lot of young people that had come out to register to new voters, and they were looking out for an election that were the kind of inspiring elections that they wanted to have. However, this election is one kind of election that had its own challenges like previous elections, especially in the areas of issues around the BVAS, because of the fact that we are having new technologies that we are going to be showcasing, like the BVAS. And the key important aspect of the conversation around this election is the issues around transmission of results, which INEC had actually promised Nigerians that there were going to be transmission of results immediately after the elections are wrapped up at the polling unit. There were going to be transmission of elections. To the amazement of Nigerians and also the voters, we didn't see this happen. And this created a lot of confrontations, it created a lot of doubts around the credibility of the electoral process. However, this election also, because of the innovations and technology that have founded around this election, we see many cases, most of those issues around ballot board snatching, stuffing, issues around vote buying, we see those things reduced. But for us to ensure that elections are credible, these issues around transmission of results and alteration, because we see that even in some of these results that were even shown to us, there were series of alterations of those results. So these are doubts that has undermined the credibility of the election.
Tijani from Abuja, are we saying you're having trust issues now with INEC and their performance, or do we go with the popular phrase in town that INEC performed, or INEC promised overwhelmingly and performed underwhelmingly?
Yeah, so I think in both ways, I think you're right, because INEC actually promised Nigerians that they were going to transmit their results, which was also in line with the Electoral Act. You get that? It was also in line with the Electoral Act for them to transmit those results. But, like they said, there were technical glitches that they experienced during the process. And like my organization, the Transition Monitoring Group, we deployed over 3,600 observers across the federations. And it was easy for us to even transmit those results on WhatsApp. So most times I used to look at what political parties are even doing. Because at some point, we do not have to leave everything to government to do. Political parties themselves also have the capacity to set up their own IREF, ensure that most of their agents in those polling units also transmit results to them. Then today, we'll be talking about how to do a comparative analysis of the results that political party agents have transmitted to their own server and the result that polling unit electoral officers have transmitted to INEC server. So at that point, it becomes an issue of comparative analysis of those two results. But you see, when political parties are not also living to their responsibilities, and political parties are asked to ensure to protect the votes of their of their party members, this is also server had failed them. So what are the options that we have?
Anyway, Tijani, we'll join.
That is important.
Tijani, just we'll join you in a moment. Let's maybe meet our guest here in the studio. Let me meet you with you again, Pascal. I don't know, because this issue with Beavers, this issue with Trust and INEC, this issue with not having what we expected or not getting what we expected from INEC, I could tell I've been issue that you were having issues with his own stand on the whole thing. With what we heard from Tijani and everything that's going around the country and all of that, are you saying that INEC, for you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where will you put INEC?
Yes, I cannot just bring INEC down because they, as an institution, they did their best in when you talk about in the Nigeria environment. Yes, it is true that they have some inches in their beavers, but you cannot take that one away from the election. You can't take it away. The reason why you cannot take it away because every political party has their agent who marked a polling booth about 176,000 across the country. You have an agent. And if you look at it, we will take a case study. We cannot take a case study from anywhere apart from our state. We will take a case study from our state. In Edo State, for example, we have party agents that are present in every polling unit in Edo State. And this result, we are with them. And what is Beavers?
And they sign them.
They endorse.
Okay.
And one thing you should also know that what is Beavers? Beavers is to accredit. They show you official reconciliation. They give you a ballot box. You go there and you ballot paper and you vote. And when you vote, after the collation of the result in that booth, what the Beavers ought to do is to take the picture of the result sheet. Take the picture of the result sheet and transmit.
That's where we're having the problem.
Excuse
that's
me.
why most
Yes,
of
yes.
That's what Tijani is talking about.
Yeah, that is what
Abuja.
Yeah, that is what
that is then come to play.
Yeah, that is what he's talking about. But that is why we are still saying, thank God, no one is protesting in Nigeria and everybody is following.
No. I think we don't. I don't think we should go. We should
Okay,
go that line.
go. I shouldn't use that.
The political gladiators,
yes,
the presidential candidates, and all of them told their followers that there is no need
to protest.
To the streets.
They have to go to the court. Why am I bringing that aspect of it is this? Now, you have just mentioned a very vital word now, that agents were in the yes. Now, it is for us now to do a comparative analysis about the result. As I'm speaking to you now, about more than 80-something% have already been uploaded. Have been uploaded in the INEC portal. Now, it's now left for a political party, for example, in my own unit. If the votes there, I have a result in my building unit. If that my result does not tally with the one that is presented in INEC portal, there will be an issue. So my advice for political party, not to hit the priority of is, talk to your agent. You have agent in around 176 polling booths. Get their result, compare it with what is in the portal, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, I'm coming. We're not trying to sideline you, but I want to find out from you. Don't you think it would have been better at the end of the exercise, those results were uploaded for Nigerians to see, rather than coming to tell us after the results have been announced that they are now uploading them?
Yes, you are very correct, but we cannot control technology.
Okay.
That is the issue. It's just like calling your number. You said your number, your NTM cannot get in touch with you. I have no authority to control your technology. We can't control technology.
Okay.
When it happened, it happened. But when it happened, there should be something, a manual, the result sheet, a manual backup. Not just that. There's a result sheet. Let's compare what you voted in your booth. Is it different from what was uploaded in
we leave those ones to them to solve. They are going to court and all of that. I saw Owobu Destiny, you are raising your finger as if you are in the classroom.
You see, in truth, justice and fairness, why are we Nigerians so quick to legitimize inconsistency and error, but we are not so quick to follow a process, due process? Is there any electoral law that says that after counting the votes, you just announce the winner? While the vote was being counted, all the parties in the place stated irregularities they had to even scream. I saw a politician stand up and scream. I said, this thing is not right. And I saw the INEC chairman in full view of the world say, this is just a preliminary process of collating votes. After we collate, we will screen and put these things that you are saying into consideration before we announce the result. The INEC chairman said that on live TV to calm the nerves. Right. There were issues. They didn't wait for the thing to be announced. People came out and they were saying, this transmission thing is causing problem. There's already, people are already holding results that are not tallying with what you are reading right now. Yes. Because once you make a statement that you have announced a winner, it is very important. It's very important. Everybody is going to pay attention to that winner. But when people are saying something, and you promise them that you're going to review the process
before you announce
that,
yes, then
we should be seeing the effort towards that direction. So after counting, and you have done that, they should have listened to these people. You bring all those, they have the results. They should have just a 2-day conference to allow them to air their views. And then you will see the integrity of the process. But you know what happened? People were asleep, and by 2 a.m. in the morning, they announced the winner. Without
but I think we've gotten that kind of thing before today.
Yeah,
previous elections, the way they are announcing the result, they run into the night.
No, we don't have a problem with the timing. We have a problem with the fact that you promised that you're going to do a review of the complaints
before announcing the results.
With what the complaints before announcing the results. But we were very quick to quickly. You see, that's the problem. It's not enough. People trust the system. If you watch football, referees make mistakes. Yeah, it happens.
That's why we have the
goal line technology. In fact, according to FIFA rules now, if you declare a goal, they can cancel the goal after they use technology to check.
Yeah, that's what the VAR is.
Yes, that's an improvement on the system. So those days, if you were watching football 20 years ago, once it's a goal, it's a goal, and then we'll complain later. But now, if it's a goal, the referee can be someone to look at the system. Because of that effort to improve the system, we can see that football has also improved. Yeah. The same thing. So if you say you are using a technology, when people say technology will malfunction, people know how to minimize powerful things. I study statistics. What we call the germane important variable. The reason why they gave INEC 250 billion to run this election. In fact, the issue, the core innovation in this election, the core innovation, the most important innovation that we are looking at to improve the integrity of this system is this technology. In other words, it can make or mar the election.
Okay, let's get back to...
We invested heavily on it.
Okay,
so you cannot just say it's a technical glitch. Such statements are redundant when you invest 350 billion to secure a process and then you explain to 200 million people that it is a technical glitch and we should take it. That process should be investigated. Personally, I think they should call international auditors, expert auditors, to audit the whole INEC process. Okay. Audit the whole INEC process. No, it's very important. Okay. Because we spend money, it's taxpayers' money. Okay. To audit the process from voting to accreditation to the transmission itself. We want to see the technical.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
Let me go back to Tijani in Abuja. You were just laughing, Tijani, when they were talking about all of these, and I can see the smile on your face and all of that. But there's something I want you to react to that. And as a follow-up, Patu Tommy, the political economist, he said most of these observers, especially international observers, they look but they don't see. Tijani, take it from there, please.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
We are with you.
Okay, so I don't think I get your last statement.
Okay, the last thing I said is that a political economist, you know him now, Pat Utomi, he said observers, especially international observers, he said they look at elections, but they don't see. Because at the end of the day, they'll say the process was okay, calm and fair, or maybe peaceful at the least. So where do you go from here?
Okay, so first of all, just like let me just start from where my colleague in the studio said, we actually agree that there need to be an audit of the electoral process. It's important that there should be an audit. But if you see the role of the observers, both local and domestic observers on election day, there are code of engagement. There are things that observer, you have a code of conduct that you use in conducting yourself around the elections. You do not have anything to do with how the election results are coming in. You only look at the issues around how transparent the process is, what are the issues around logistics, what are the issues around the electoral administration, what are the issues, and so there are areas you do not have to even go into as international observers. However, if you look at the preliminary reports of the European Union and also most of some of the Commonwealth observers, they were very clear in stating very clearly that there were issues of transparency in the electoral process. So we also have other international observers that also looked at areas around the roles of the police, the security agencies, the roles that INEC played in ensuring around their logistic issues. So it's not like the international observers are also come out to say that there are transparency issues around the electoral process. So it's not that, but we as the transition monitoring group, we also notice some areas where we feel that INEC need to improve upon, especially in the issues of logistics. We've been talking about these issues around logistics for a long time. You cannot have an election when you are opening up election booths around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. The law says that elections should start by 8 o'clock. So we can see in majority of the polling units, there are some observers, there are some election observation that also state clearly that elections did not start even at 70% of the polling unit. In our own case, we also observed that almost about 30 to 35% of polling units across the federation, election did not start at 8 o'clock. So these are the challenges. And they need to improve around its logistics, how to transmit electoral officers and electoral logistics to polling units as at when due. We don't have to wait on election day before these things are transmitted. We have seen the strategies deployed by organizations like WAEC, NECO in transmitting examination materials. Yeah. Why is it that INEC is failing in its own strategy to transmit election materials? So we need to see how we put pressure on INEC to improve in its own transmission of election materials so that the elections can always start around 8 o'clock as stipulated in the Electoral Act. So we can't say that INEC has failed. We just feel that there are areas that they can improve upon.
Yes.
Yeah. INEC is not an individual, it's an organization. Yes. And everybody has a responsibility in ensuring that they get it right. Right from the polling unit of the electoral officers down to the resident or commissioners, and everybody has a role to play. But we see a case of administrative sabotage in the INEC deployment strategic plan. So they need to do an audit and to know where they have crises, where they have issues. So in order to ensure that the next elections that we are looking forward to, the gubernatorial election, do not have issues with integrity tests when it comes to measuring its credibility and its transparency level.
Okay, Abdul, you just give us some minutes. We'll come back to you again. Abdul in Abuja, Abdul Tijani.
All right, I would like to ask this question. Mr. Pascal, just like Mr. Tijani said, INEC, we can't outrightly say that INEC has actually failed. Yeah. Okay, so let's get off the back of INEC now, and let's talk about violence, election violence. You made mention earlier that it was kind of peaceful in the area where you voted. Yeah. Now, we recorded about 3 deaths in Edo State. Yes. That shows that there was violence to a large extent. What do you have to say about that?
You see, why did I say that with the redesigning of the currency, we have a low rate of violence? The reason why I said so is that when you compare that to what we used to have before, you will see that even the 3 deaths, although even 1 death is very painful in a community or a state like us, but when you compare it to where we are coming from, you will agree with me that with the redesigning of the currency, people were not having enough cash to move around. People were not having enough cash to settle talks. People were not having enough money to buy guns or buy anything weapons that they can use.
Or maybe those one who had, money's not even coming, so
why should we use it? And if you look, the whole general trend of this election, you will see that is why, if I may digress a little bit, during this process of electoral, you see that we as a people, we didn't really have, the people didn't really vote in this election.
If you think so? You think there was voter apathy?
Yeah, why did I say so? You see people who live in Benin, for example. Some of them couldn't send transport money to go to places like Edo Central. I am very serious in what I'm saying.
Okay.
They didn't send money to go for transport to places like
where they
registered to vote, because there was no cash. A 1,000 naira was almost as important as if it was $1 deal. So there was no cash for people to really move and say, let them vote. With that, the violence a little bit reduced. And the influence of politicians with money wasn't there as such. That is why I said that the violence was a little bit limited with the financial currency redesignation of Naira.
Okay. Let's still continue riding on the back of violence and what happened.
Yes.
Maybe where Pascal stopped, you could maybe continue from there.
I want to make a clarification. We should not, this cash crunch issue is not a credit to INEC.
Okay.
INEC is not, it's not part of the electoral system to hoodwink people.
No, it was just saying that, yes, with the redesign, the scarcity of the Naira.
The context of the success of the election.
Okay.
And whether INEC has failed or not. That's why.
No, the question she asked has to do with violence.
Yes. No, the question, it was on the back, on the fact that we cannot say INEC has failed. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, I was just trying to say, let's leave INEC out of this and
let's
let's talk
about
about violence.
Look at violence.
Violence is
Yes.
Okay, because violence has always been part of Nigerian election. But generally speaking, if we look at this election, most of the violence was reported in Lagos. Okay. And in Edo State, there was pockets of violence. Because as statisticians, we look at what we call outliers.
Okay.
We are so-called central tendency. The overall election in Edo State, by all information, was peaceful. There are a lot of polling units in Edo State.
No, if you are saying it was peaceful, that should be in quotes now.
Yes.
The governor went around to be saying diseased families.
Yes.
You understand? Victims. You know, he went to see the families of those victims that lost their lives.
Yes.
We had cases in the Oge community.
Yes.
We had a case in the Wonogbo and all of that. You are saying, you are calling that pockets, that should be bags now.
When you are looking at a system, we have to be honest. You look at it in scale. Okay. In scale. Okay? Even sometimes when the church organizes an event, there was a church that organized a big event in this state, and 11 people died because of stampede. So you can't, because of the 11 people that died, any place that has 1 to 2 million people has a propensity to create some problems.
Okay.
So the 3 people that died, it's a painful thing if you look at it from their perspective. 3. But when you look at the total number of people that came out to vote that day, and the total number of polling booths, and the system itself, and then there is violence in a small.
You describe it as pockets.
It's a pocket compared to the total. Okay, and like what he rightly said, comparing this to previous elections, the amount of violence in this election in most states of the federation was reduced. We used to hear gunshots, not just stealing ballot boxes. What we heard, like in Port Harcourt one year, it was basically war on the streets. You know, and we saw military men coming to be part of the process and shooting. But in this election, what we saw is, especially in Lagos, there was some quickly thugs trying to steal ballot boxes. But in some other states, it was basically peaceful. People went there to vote. So those people that lost their lives, it's a painful thing that in the 21st century, people still lose their lives during elections in Nigeria. You know, and it's very painful. But it is an improvement. The number of violence, it was reduced. But the case itself is still very bad. We can have a violence-free election. Totally. I remember during the Jega years, Jega was, during that Jonathan election, that election had less violence than this election.
Okay.
The election that brought Jonathan into power. That election was very calm, people voted, and the violence was very reduced. So, but this, if you compare that to this is a regression. That's why I told you we are supposed to be moving forward.
Okay.
But sometimes
not supposed to be progressing.
But what happens is,
regressing.
how will I be able to refer to an election that took place 10 years ago and say this one in violence is worse than that one? You know,
What do you think is the way forward?
so the way forward is very simple. We need to audit the process.
Okay.
You know, after this election, we should invest another. We spent 350 billion to conduct the election. We should spend another 10 billion
At
to,
least.
Taxpayers' money.
Yes, we should.
Okay.
It's important. It's important. When you look at the scale, the importance of an election, we should spend another amount
Okay.
to purge the system, to investigate the system, audit all these issues, violence and all of them, vote buying and all of them. We should audit all of them. Write a report, a standard report of at least 2,000 pages, and allow every Nigerian to read it. Allow Nigerians to read it.
Anyway, Tijani,
You know why? So that we can
want to
improve- so that we
comment.
can
I'm seeing
improve
Mr.
on the
Pascal
system.
laughing.
okay, you know what, Tijani is like.
So that we can improve on the system.
You know what? Let's join Tijani again, Abuja. So we are talking about violence now in the system that we saw in the course of the election.
On the issue of violence, we always see that in elections play out. So that's why we usually do a pre-election violence tracking. And I think this time around, if you look at most of the analysis that we got from previous election, and there was a huge reduction around electoral violence this time around, in all honesty. And I think that credit goes to me because of the kind of technology that was deployed in this election. And I think what is important that we should do as the people is to see how we can also improve on the kind of technology that we introduce into our elections in such a way that we do not have to, we should start thinking about how we can have elections without people even coming out.
Okay.
You know, without people coming out to queue in the sun, I think that is what we should start thinking about now. How do we conduct elections at the comfort of our homes, with our phones, with other technologies that can actually verify our identity? If we can have ATM cards, BVN numbers, we can have national identity card numbers, what is the problem with us harmonizing data and coming up with a process where individual cannot use his national identity card to vote more than once? So these are the kind of technologies that we need to see how we can improve upon in order to reduce these issues around coming out and joining queues to vote. If we begin to look at how to reduce the issues around people coming out, joining queues, because most of those violence are actually carried out around polling units. So if we can come up with technologies that reduce the possibility of people coming out, joining queue, and having those, even when it comes to corruption, you see, that's why we have, most times when the issues around having people to appear, going through the process of meeting one or two persons becomes a corruption risk. That is why you see that even in deploying technology, you reduce man-to-man interferences. And at that point, issues around electoral corruptions or issues around violence will be reduced. So I think technology, we should look at how can we deploy technology in reducing the number of people that come out to join queues and wait under the hot sun.
Okay, Tijani, let's look at, you see, INEC came out and told us that we had about over 93,400,000 registered voters. Of these, 87.2 million people collected their PVC. But if you look at the total number of people that came out to vote in totality, it's less than 30 million. 30 million. 30 million. So what do you make of, is that not voter apathy?
Yes.
What do you make of it?
Yes, thank you so much. We saw what played out in this election. There were a lot of issues around administrative, there were a lot of administrative issues that played out that led to deliberate voter apathy. You understand? And what I refer to as deliberate voter apathy is when you have people come out to vote, they stay out till 2 o'clock. Electoral materials have not arrived at their polling unit. They will just walk away.
Okay.
Exactly. Then we also had the issues around unavailability of cash. A lot of people wanted to travel for the elections, but there was no cash.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of factors that played out that affected the huge population of registered voters to come out to vote. Then we still had issues around people that didn't trust the electoral process, that needed so much to be done around civic education. And there were people that also have anticipated violence. In some places, even before the election, there were places that they were anticipated violence, that people had gone out to threaten people that, okay, if you come out to vote and you're not voting for my political party, we'll make sure that we deal with you. We'll make sure. So there were anticipated violence into most places across the country that people also led to voter apathy. So a lot of factors played out that also affected the huge number of registered voters from coming out to vote on the election day.
Okay.
But the most painful of those factors were the fact that people came out as early as 7 o'clock, arrived at their polling.
Okay, Tijani, you know what? Tijani, Abdul Tijani, we'll join you again. Let me come to you now. Okay, the elections are here. They are behind us. Those ones. We have another set of election coming, March 11. So how do we take care of all of these challenges between now and then? We have limited time. What do you think should be done to address all of these issues before the next election, where over 28 states will be deciding the fate, or be going to the polls to choose new governors for themselves, and across the country we're going to have the state House of Assembly election.
Yeah, part of what we are going to do is what we are doing now. We are talking about the problems of that election. And why do we talk about problems? So that we can improve the system.
Okay.
So I believe INEC too.
We should go beyond talking about problems.
Yes.
How do we profile? Let's profile solutions.
The solutions, you see, we cannot be backseat drivers.
Okay.
We cannot be backseat drivers. The people administering the election is INEC. Most of the successes of this election is going to be between INEC, the police, and the agencies. Why was it easy for you to walk up to a polling booth and start fighting? The policemen deployed to those places, they were not giving guns. They were not giving guns, for instance. We saw it. Most of them were just sitting down. They were bystanders. And they're supposed to be security officials.
Provide the security. Right.
So one of the things there is that maybe in the governorship election, they should give them guns. That's number one. Number two, the election did not start on time, like my friend said there. So maybe in the next election.
Don't you think when they are armed, that could be risky?
I will not agree to it's a civil duty.
Okay.
It's a civil duty. Election is not war.
Okay.
I don't believe for a policeman to carry gun
to election
arena.
Right.
One, the reason why, this is Nigeria. We have had a lot of issue. This is outside election now of politics. We have an issue where you see policemen having accidental discharge and all that.
Yes.
We cannot take
chances
of that. But one thing which we used to forget as in Nigeria is that we like to point finger to institutions.
Okay.
Those institutions.
Forgetting that we too have our roles to play.
Apart from that, they are Nigerians. They did not come from Cameroon. Okay. They did not come from.
They didn't fall from the sky.
They are Nigerians, and until Nigeria begins to have to recognize the value as a people, Let me give you just example. We're talking about technology. If you go to England, they don't use technology for election.
Okay, what do they do?
You just go there.
Is it done manually?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. When you go there, they give you a ballot paper, and inside the ballot paper they give you there is Labour, Conservative, maybe Labour, Democrat. You go in there and take the one you think that is good for you and put it there. And put it there. Why is it so? Because it's value. People respect themselves. They respect other people's opinion. Somebody will not go there to go and change any ballot box. Somebody will not go there to go and steal any ballot box. Somebody will not go there to go and say, oh, let me bully these people, or let me molest these people, or let me create anarchy or violence there. That is a value. We need, as a nation, to know that your responsibility as an individual, you have to maintain that stand, not trying to cut corners, not trying to create violence. We need to look inward as a people first of all, before we start pointing fingers.
Okay, you know what? I think we need to cap up the discussion. We need to cap it. But I know. No, I'll come to you. I think I'm going to allow you to cap the whole thing. But let me go back to Tijani. Tijani, we have another election coming up now on the 11th of March. On the 11th of March, in 30 seconds, what do you think should be done as we approach this next election?
Okay, so I think INEC by now, I think I saw Festus Okoye came up with a press statement and enjoined that Nigerians to go out and vote. I think INEC should, they have an opportunity to audit the elections they have had and also improve on the next election. I also urge the security agencies to also live up to their expectations. We've seen areas where security agencies were seen to be collaborative connivance, where we want to believe that they are not also part of the process of truncating the electoral process. We want to see that there's an improvement in the whole process. The INEC should ensure that they get their logistics, their administration right, and ensure that all voters have the right to, all voters are given the chance to carry out their fundamental rights. And also urge the voters to also come out. The elections are not yet over. They should come out in mass and vote for their candidates and ensure that we guide our results and also ensure that those results are protected and also transmitted.
Okay, Tijani, I gave you 30 seconds, and I think I'll be. You've done over close to 2 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Abuja. We believe that next time we call you, you will join us. So thank you so much for joining us from Abuja. So before we round up now, I want to Awobu, you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I was saying something. I said we should not. The standard of right and wrong is not England or the USA and others.
Okay. No, the reason why I said that, because you were saying that the international community should come and audit our INEC. Okay. They should call. No, we shouldn't call international. We are Nigeria. We should solve our problems. We should solve our problem.
Look at what I was saying. The reason for this is, you mentioned England, for instance. They don't, English police, they don't carry guns normally. They carry batons up to today. They are not allowed to carry guns. But in America, they carry AK-47 because of the society. England is not the standard of morality because English people are naturally quiet people and docile people. But the Americans are more aggressive people.
Docile.
No, not docile in the negative sense. Like they are conservative people. They are more civilized in the sense of what we call civility. And so quite naturally, you expect the English people to go and vote and get out of there. But in America is more of an aggressive society. And so the police there carry AK-47, the most sophisticated weapons, because the kind of criminals they have in their country
are also sophisticated. Too.
So we must also look at these things. We should not be, we don't adapt models that are not related. English people have 99% literacy rate. They have the highest number of PhDs in the world. I'm talking about a society that is well sophisticated, educated. The average Englishman has a history of 10 grandfathers that are professors. In Oxford is 700 years old.
If I may cut him, Mr.
You're talking about an educated group of people. The English people are sophisticated and educated. Their system should not be compared with our system. Nigeria has 69% literacy rate. Unemployment rate, 40-something%. These are society. Nigeria is a coming society. So we must grow with our society. For example, what we must learn in this election is this. Those places where there were pockets of violence, INEC should this time around work with the police and map out. You don't need to map out, roll out the whole problem. Edo State was peaceful. Some other states were peaceful. Like Lagos, that's where the violence was there. INEC would now work. That's how to solve a problem. You look at the society. If it was violent in Lagos, those places where it was violent, we work with the police and say, come, we need to deploy more in that area. So we don't need to roll out a national plan to solve the electoral problems. What we need to do is to study it. That's why I say we need studying. We must be a learning society. Oh, it happened in that place, Agege polling unit. Therefore, in the next election, the people coming there should meet something else. There should be a change in the system. If they kidnap children in a secondary school in Kano, then we should use that to learn how to put
Anyway,
policemen around all the schools.
Okay, the same generosity.
That's how to solve a problem.
Okay, the same
Yes.
generosity of time that I gave to you.
Yeah.
Let me extend same to him.
If I may,
30 seconds, please.
if I may just put that, it is not about education.
Yeah.
When you talk about professorship in England and all that, it isn't that. You also look at English, they practice parliamentary system of government. America practice presidential system of government. And when you look at parliamentary system of government, there is no room to fight because each area, each county produce their MP.
Okay.
And it is when they go to parliament that they will not choose a leader.
Okay.
You will not expect that kind of volatile situation. You will not expect a volatile election in England compared to America, where they practice system, a presidential system of government. Let me come back to our own
Let's come back
in Nigeria.
home
Home now. Let's come back home. INEC have to improve.
Okay.
We have to give them room to improve. They cannot get there. We keep on improving. In the next 20 or 30 years, we keep on improving. We will not get there at once.
Anyway,
But
we
cannot say that the election was not it was not fair and it was not free. The reason why, because even you didn't want me to go into to analyze what even prompts this result. Because we were discussing.
I gave you time.
We were discussing about INEC. If we wanted to see to how the demography of Nigeria, how this election will go, you will agree with me that that is what he went.
Okay.
He went to the way article yesterday was saying that Obi did not allow him to win his southeast and south. We knew that Labour Party was going to collect those things from my article.
Okay.
So
anyway, time is one thing that you wait for, but it doesn't wait. We don't have time. We don't have the luxury of time to do too much. Tijani, we thank you again for joining us. And Lugard, Pascal Atoy, thank you so much. Let me do it this time. And Wobu Destiny, thank you so much.
Nice.
And on behalf of beautiful...
I can extend my hand.
No, okay, give it to him. Let him give it to him. So I can take it from here. We'll take a very short break. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.